broadcast and it don't want to fucking start.
Well, it should be starting now.
It automatically started.
Yeah.
From deep inside the piney woods of Northeast Texas, you are listening to Talk of the Night. And now, your host, Paranormal Phil.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you may be around the world, around the globe. I am Paranormal Phil. This is Talk of the Night. I apologize. We had some technical issues that I had to fix because we got thunderstorms in the area, so that might be playing havoc. So if we happen to lose power tonight, I apologize. We have see, this is why she's fired. No, just kidding. Anyways, tonight we are going to talk about the end of money and freedom. We're going to get into that whole conspiracy thing tonight, but I'm just pulling up some things here for the live right now, so that way. All right, there we go. So we're going to continue this dive down the rabbit hole of conspiracies, which we've been doing lately, and to see what the future might hold for not just the dollar, but other world currencies. We also look at the end of freedoms here in the U.S., but how it will affect the rest of the world. Now, starting off with the decline of the dollar, for this, we have to go back prior to 1913, and we talk about that date here in a minute, but what was the U.S. dollar prior to that date? And for those listening and watching around the world, asking how this affects you, well, I will get into that in this show as long as we don't lose power because of the thunderstorm. And I will be looking at the weather app from time to time. So, when did the first dollar bill appear? Let's check out this video that explains it.
The time dollars were printed in the United States was during a moment of deep national crisis, the American Civil War. Until then, coins made from gold, silver, and copper were the primary form of money. But in 1861, the war between the Union and the Confederacy created chaos, not just on the battlefield but in the financial system as well. As war expenses skyrocketed and fear spread across the country, people began hoarding gold and silver coins, which led to a severe shortage of currency. The federal government was running out of ways to pay its troops, fund supplies, and manage everyday expenses. In desperation, Congress passed the Legal Tender Act of 1862, which authorized the Treasury Department to print paper money for the first time. These early notes were nicknamed greenbacks because of the green ink used on the reverse side, a feature chosen partly to prevent counterfeiting and partly because it was cheap and durable. On March 10, 1862, the first official $5 demand notes were issued by the U.S. government. They weren't backed by gold or silver, but were declared legal tender for all debts, public and private, meaning people had to accept them as real money, even though many were skeptical. At first, the idea of using paper instead of coins seemed risky and even outrageous to some. Critics worried that the greenbacks would lose their value or cause inflation, and they weren't wrong. During the war, the value of the greenbacks did fluctuate, and their worth was often less than that of gold. But over time, the greenbacks kept the economy moving. They helped the Union pay soldiers, buy weapons, and maintain stability in a time of war. The design included patriotic imagery, such as eagles, Lady Liberty, and shields, as well as the signature of Salmon P. Chase, then the Secretary of the Treasury. By the end of the war, nearly $450 million in greenbacks had been printed, and though they were intended as a temporary wartime measure, the idea of paper money had caught on. These early notes laid the foundation for the modern American dollar, today's most powerful currency. The first time dollars were printed in the United States was during...
Now, before the Civil War, there was printing money to fund wars such as the Revolutionary War. However, it was not like the greenbacks of the Civil War. Let's take a look at this next video that explains the currency prior to the Civil War.
America's first currency was so worthless it became an insult that lasted 2 centuries? It's 1775. The Continental Congress needs to fund a revolution. Problem is, they have no gold, no silver, and no power to collect taxes. So they do the only thing they can. They print money. Lots of it. By 1780, it takes 100 continental dollars to buy what $1 bought just 5 years earlier. Soldiers fighting for American freedom are getting paid in paper so worthless they're using it as wallpaper. That's where the phrase, "not worth a continental," comes from. Here's where it gets fascinating. The founders were so burned by this collapse that they wrote hard money directly into the Constitution. No state could make anything but gold and silver legal tender. That's how deep the scar ran. And here's the part most people miss. Every argument you hear today about the Federal Reserve, fiat currency, and cryptocurrency traces its roots back to that exact moment. The money changes. The fear behind it never does. Did you know America's first currency was so
All right, so hold on. I had something up that I did not need up. So with that known, what led us into the Federal Reserve note in 1913? Between the end of the Civil War and start of World War I and up to 1913, it transitioned from an unregulated wartime paper experiment to a centralized gold standard framework, which we had until 1971, which I'll get into that in a moment. It wouldn't be until 1913 when the US dollar would become the currency that we know today. Now, the Federal Reserve was not liked by everyone. Just 1 year before the formation of the Federal Reserve, there were 3 wealthy people along with many people who opposed the Federal Reserve. What they opposed was the central bank. Let's hear what this video has to say about those men and why.
Of April 14th, 1912, the Titanic did not sink by accident. It was deliberately sunk to eliminate 3 men who opposed the creation of the Federal Reserve. Benjamin Guggenheim, Isidor Straus, and John Jacob Astor were among the richest men in America. All 3 publicly opposed the plan by J.P. Morgan and the Rothschilds to create a private central bank that would control the American economy. In November 1910, Morgan secretly gathered powerful bankers on Jekyll Island, Georgia, to plan what would become the Federal Reserve. Guggenheim, Straus, and Astor discovered the plan. They threatened to use their wealth and influence to destroy it. Morgan owned the White Star Line, the company that operated the Titanic. He personally invited the 3 men to the maiden voyage. He reserved the finest suites. He ensured they would be on board. Then, at the last minute, Morgan canceled his own trip, claiming illness. Captain Edward Smith had specific orders. Declassified documents revealed he received 6 iceberg warnings that night. He ignored them all. He maintained near maximum speed in dangerous waters, a direct violation of standard maritime safety protocol. When the ship struck the iceberg, there were lifeboats for only 1,178 of the 2,224 people on board. By design, not by mistake, the White Star Line had removed additional lifeboats to create more deck space for first-class passengers. Guggenheim put on his evening wear and said, "We are dressed in our best and are prepared to go down like gentlemen." Straus refused to board a lifeboat, choosing to remain with his wife. Astor helped women and children into lifeboats before going down with the ship. All 3 men died that night. In December 1913, just 20 months later, the Federal Reserve Act was passed by Congress. J.P. Morgan and the banking establishment now controlled the American financial system, a convenient accident or the elimination of the only real opposition to the greatest financial takeover in American history. If you like stories like this, follow for more. On the
All right, so as you heard in that video, there were 3 of the most wealthiest men that opposed the central bank that people like J.P. Morgan, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and so forth wanted. They wanted that central bank and that continued wealth. It is said that Mayor Amschel Rothschild said, and there's been a lot of debate whether he said this or not, But let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who writes the law. Whether or not he said it or not, we see that in today's time, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So what led up to that point in time? Just 2 years before the sinking of the Titanic, which many believe was its sister ship, the Olympic, that actually sank because it had more problems than the Titanic, but they kind of swapped out the names and made it look like that. But again, that's a conspiracy theory that I don't think we have proof of that, and I don't think we ever will. But 6 men met at Jekyll Island Club off the coast of Georgia to discuss the banking system and form the Federal Reserve. Those men were Nelson Aldrich, a senator, Pat Andrew, Assistant Secretary to the Treasury, Henry Davis, a prominent American banker and senior partner at J.P. Morgan. Arthur Shelton is what it told me, but I think there was 1 or 2 other people there. Frank Vanderlip, president of the National Bank of New York, and Paul Warburg, partner at Coons Loeb and Company and representative to the Rothschild banking dynasty. Now, do you kind of see a pattern there? Let's look at this article that talks about the secret meeting. Now, a secret gathering at a secluded off the coast, Georgia, in 1910 laid the foundation for the Federal Reserve System. Scroll down. In November 1910, 6 men, and you can read the names there, met on Jekyll Island Club off the coast of Georgia, wrote a plan to reform the nation's banking system and met its purpose were closely guarded secrets, and participants did not admit that the meeting occurred until 1930. But the plan was written on Jekyll Island, laid a foundation for what would eventually be the Federal Reserve. Now, I'll leave the link in the description because we had to restart the thing, so I'll have to add it in the description after we're done. But anyways, you'll be able to read it for yourself, the rest of that. Now, moving on to 1913, when the Federal Reserve Act was put into place. When it was enacted, it was not the first time it was tried. Before and after, presidents have opposed before and after 1913, when the Federal Reserve Act was enacted, presidents opposed the central banking cartel, and it did turn out good for them, according to this video, which we're going to play right here.
Tried to destroy the Federal Reserve ended up dead or nearly dead. This is not a theory. This is a pattern. Andrew Jackson called the central bank a den of vipers. He survived 2 assassination attempts. Abraham Lincoln refused to pay the banks their war interest rates and printed his own government currency called greenbacks. He was shot at Ford's Theater. James Garfield publicly opposed the national banking system and called it a conspiracy against the people. He was shot 4 months into his presidency. William McKinley opposed the banking cartels and pushed for government-controlled currency. He was shot at a public expo. John F. Kennedy signed Executive Order 1110 in June 1963. It gave the Treasury Department power to issue currency and stripped the Federal Reserve of that authority. He was assassinated in November 1963. 5 presidents, same enemy, same outcome. The Federal Reserve has never been successfully dismantled. It was created in 1913 in a secret meeting on Jekyll Island by the wealthiest bankers in America. It has never been audited. Pattern or coincidence? Every president who tried to destroy the Federal...
Speaking of presidents, the one who signed it into law, Woodrow Wilson, did he have a connection to those that formed the Federal Reserve? I mean, I don't think he really did. I think he just thought, okay, I'm doing something that might make me some money, and who knows? But no signs of that. But he was worried about the U.S. economy, and that most likely affected his judgment. It is said that he said these words in this short clip, but whether he did or not, that's another story.
I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is controlled by its system of credit. Our system of credit is concentrated. The growth of the nation, therefore, and all our activities are in the hands of a few men. We have come to be one of the worst ruled, one of the most completely controlled and dominated governments in the civilized world. No longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and the vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men. I am a most unhappy man.
All right. So as we all know, that started the decline of the dollar. Let's take a look at this chart that shows how the dollar has declined since the Federal Reserve Act was put into place. And we can show the image, or we can show the or the website. And again, the website will be linked in there to where you people can look at the image yourself. Do you got the image up, or do we got the website up? Okay, I just want to make sure. All right, so as you can see on this image, and I got it pulled up on my computer so I can see it myself. In 1913, when the Federal Reserve, or just before the 1913, you can see the price index, how the dollar was. It was pretty much worth $100 back then, was worth $100. Then the Federal Reserve Act came into play. And as you can see, what the heck? Sorry, my computer went wonky and deleted the thing. But anyways, by I want to say about 1915, when the First World War started out, it declined from 1913 to about 1915, 1920, somewhere around there. It had a huge drop. Then it picked up a little bit, and there's a little dip in there, and you would think that big drop from 1930 on down would be the Great Depression, but believe it or not, there's a little dip in the thing that is where the if you look at the image, that's about where Great Depression happened. It was just a slight drop compared to the big drop of 1913 down to 1915, 1920. Then it gained in value again and dropped again. And it was in 1941 when we entered World War One, one of the most inflationary decades in history due to the wartime production and massive bonds buying from the Federal Reserve. That's when the money took a drop and has never recovered. It's gone down. And then, of course, 1971, the gold standard, Nixon decoupled us from the gold standard. So the money was not backed by precious metals, and that it was just a fiat currency. And then, of course, COVID hit, and you can see the chart goes up to 2030, but it's still declining. How do we fix this? I couldn't tell you, but like I said, I'll let you look at that chart, but you can kind of see on there the value of what you could get, or what $1 used to buy in like 1913. You could buy 30 Hershey chocolate bars for $1. 2025, 1 pack of great value gummy worms is what, $1. I mean, you can see the difference there. So, again, the dollar has declined. Now, as we can see in the chart, there was that huge drop. But, again, it happened, and then today it just keeps going down. Now, the Federal Reserve Act was not the only thing that happened in 1913. We had another thing that coupled with it. Whoa. Hear myself. You got YouTube open?
Muted.
If you got YouTube open, close it. All you need is the chat. You close YouTube. I still hear myself. That's weird. I don't know. Let me check the radar real quick. Just for anybody watching, I apologize. We got double echo sound, and I don't like that. It drives me nuts on the show, and I can't think. So let me check the weather, make sure that we're good on the weather. All right. Looks like we're good on the weather. So I don't know why it is doing that. But the IRS was created in 1913. That's when we lost control of our country, as far as I'm concerned. And of course, our currency. Let's watch a short video on the birth of the income tax and the IRS.
Tax was created in 1913, it was only supposed to touch the richest 1% of Americans. The average working person was never meant to pay it. So how did it end up coming out of every single paycheck in this country? Follow this page right now, because this is the history they replaced with textbooks full of lies. Drop a comment if you had no idea about this. In 1913, the top tax rate was 1%, and it only applied to incomes over $300, roughly $90,000 in today's money. The working class paid nothing. Then World War I happened. The government needed money fast. Rates shot up overnight, but after the war, they never came back down. Then World War II hit. This time they didn't just raise rates. They invented something brand new: automatic payroll withholding. Before 1943, Americans paid taxes once a year in a lump sum. They felt every dollar leave. The government changed that on purpose. When you never see the money, you never miss it. They redesigned the entire system so you'd stop questioning it. Follow the page so you never stop asking. And tell me in the comments, did they teach you any of this in school? When the income tax was created in 1930.
So today we are taxed for just about everything. We went from fighting a revolution over taxes, and now we accept it as part of our everyday life. Now, with all this in place, what is their next move? Well, that I believe would be the CD or CBDC. I always want to mess that up. Or otherwise known as the central banking digital currency. We have been headed in that direction for quite a while now, with credit cards and debit cards, where we barely use cash to pay for anything. But with the debit cards and credit cards, we at least have some control. But once we get into CBDCs, we ain't going to have control, but we'll get into that. So let's watch this video that explains CBDC, or not that. Let's hear about the downside and a little bit about CBDC. This video will explain it.
Future look like with CBDCs, and do you think that would affect people's retirement or retirement funds at all?
100%. You know, what a CBDC does, and the Fed has even admitted it in the International Monetary Fund, the IMF papers that they've written, is See, right now, when they make a policy, it takes roughly 12 to 18 months to flow through the system. Did they get what they want? So we're really starting to feel the impact of the rapid rates that the Fed did 12, 18 months ago, right? So this way, once they have the CBDC, then they can have their finger on that policy button 24/7, which is what they've said. So that if they want the consumer to go out and consume, and you're not consuming, what are they going to do? They're going to drop us into negative rates more deeply, so that you're sitting there watching your principal evaporate. And when you're sitting there watching your principal evaporate, what are you most likely to do? But once it's in CBDC form, they can dictate what you can buy with it, how long it even exists, which you're going to see that. At first, they're not going to shock you with anything because they want to lull you into a false sense of security to get you to use it. And they've talked many times about this. So at first, it's going to seem kind of normal, like people are used to credit cards. Most people are used to credit cards and debit cards and all of that. So, and of course they've heard all about the cryptocurrencies, and we see what's happening in that arena. And remember recently, I can't remember whether it was the BIS or the IMF, but they came out with a paper basically private cryptocurrencies bad, central bank cryptocurrencies good. So they're trying to get you lulled into a false sense of security. And then once they have you there, and let's say that a lot of the population does make that deposit into that FedNow and CBDC account, right? And especially, we could go into a hyperinflation on the currency that's already out there, and then have the Fed controlling the value for a minute of the CBDC. So people go, oh, well, look this is really bad, but this is staying more stable. And I think that's really what's very, very likely to happen to get you to participate voluntarily. That, frankly, makes having physical gold and silver outside of that system critically important, because if you have everything inside of their system that they have their finger on 24/7 and can dictate everything about it, they have you by the cojones, right? So this is why it's absolutely critical for you to be as self-sufficient and independent in as many ways as possible. Food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. Because the more independent you are, the less control they will have over you. And they are attempting this. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. I mean, I really have hope of a revolution. Ray Dalio also thinks that a revolution is coming, and I agree with him. And because of these repeatable patterns, just like the end of the currency's life cycle. I mean, these patterns, when you know what they look like, then you know where we are in that cycle, and you can get into a position to actually not just survive it, but thrive through it and come out the other side in a better position. But you better have physical gold and silver in your possession, or heaven help us.
All right, now in that video you heard about
what could the future
FedNow
look like with
and
CBDCs?
what we got planned.
And do you
Okay, I was about to say what we got planned. Now in that video you heard about the FedNow. What is FedNow? Well, FedNow, it was launched in 2023 and was the start of CBDC. Let's look at that. This site that talks about FedNow. Now, the rise of FedNow, how instant payments are reshaping AP in 2025. And let's scroll down. FedNow is the Federal Reserve's real-time payment system that allows banks and credit unions of all sizes to send and receive money instantly. That's what they say. 24/7, 365. Unlike traditional payment methods that can take hours or even days, FedNow transactions settle within seconds. Sounds good, doesn't it? But as you heard in that previous video, not so good. The idea of faster payment is not a new or particularly profound concept globally. Many countries already had real-time payment networks ahead of the U.S., which, while the U.S. largely relied on ACH, automated clearinghouse, and wire transfers, while ACH worked well for payroll and bill pay, its drawbacks are speed and flexibility. On the other hand, wires are faster than ACH, but can get very expensive and they're very difficult to scale. As a whole, financial institutions were not satisfied with the system. It's been an ongoing journey to improve the distribution. And I'll leave that link up in the description where you can read the rest of that. Now, and all this about the decline of the dollar, and we're running out of time because we got 19 minutes. So I want to try to cover as much as we can. But as the decline of the dollar, the formation of the Federal Reserve and the IRS, and the implementation of things like FedNow and CBDCs, this will lead to the end of freedom, not just in the U.S., but around the world. It's already happening in other countries. And speaking of CBDCs in other countries, let's take a look at how it's already being done outside the U.S. Let's watch a short video that explains it.
You know your money could have an expiration date, not your bank account, the actual dollars inside it. This is already happening. China's digital yuan is live and in circulation right now. Some versions have been issued with built-in expiration dates. Spend it before the deadline or it simply disappears. Certain versions can only be used in specific cities. The government can see every single transaction the moment it happens, and China is not alone. 11 countries have fully launched their own digital currencies. The Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank both have active development programs running today. Here's what makes this different from anything before it. When money becomes code, it becomes programmable. Governments could restrict what you buy, where you shop, or how long your money stays valid. That is not a conspiracy theory. It is a technical feature called conditional spending, and it is being designed into the architecture right now. For most of human history, cash was anonymous. What you bought was your business. That era may be ending, and most people have no idea. Did you know your money could have an expiration?
So now you might be saying to yourself, that won't happen here in the U.S., but you would be wrong. It's already happening in a way with FedNow, which I believe they kind of pushed back on that, which we briefly spoke about a bit ago. Now, of course, they've stopped it. Yeah, they did stop it for now, but what if they change that? Well, we talked about the banking elite, and of course, it's not about ease or being able to access the money quicker or anything like that. No, it's all about control. And that's what it is with these wealthy banking families and, of course, BlackRock. And that's where we start getting into the loss of freedoms. Now, determining exactly when America started losing their freedoms depends on, and you might say, what freedoms have we lost? There's quite a bit there, but we're going to try to cover as much of it. Now, everything that I was going to talk about this in this episode, if I don't get to it, there will still be links for the stuff that I did talk about, so you can check it out for yourself. Now, depending on how heavily on freedom is defined as a balance between national security, government authority, and individual liberty shifted continually since the nation founding. But, I mean, we'll look at this. The early republic, 1798, the Alien and Sedition Act was signed into law by John Adams. And it was a crime to publish false, scandalous, or malicious writing. That's censorship. Any of that kind of stuff against the government. That's censorship by our government. That happened in the 1700s. Then there was the Civil War era. suspension of habeas corpus. President Lincoln suspended the writ of habeas corpus during the Civil War, allowing the military to arrest and detain thousands of political descendants and Confederate sympathizers without trial. That's where I believe it's the Sixth Amendment comes into play. But you can't do that. Not today, but back then you could. Post-Reconstruction retreat, World War I and the Red Scare, 1917 to 1920, the Espionage and Sedition Act during that time. I'm going to try to get through as much of this as possible, but, and of course, I'm not going to add all this in there into the chat or into the description, but we all know what happened in World War II with the Japanese-American internment. The Cold War and McCarthy, the Second Red Scare, the Smith Act in 1940, and of course it led to people losing their jobs, facing backlash, and with jail for refusing to testify about perceived communist affiliation. And then, of course, the current era we're in is the post 9/11 era and the Patriot Act, which we're going to get into in this, because that's, I believe, as far as current times, that's where we begin to lose all our freedoms. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's up to you. Of course, let me know what you think down in the comments down below. But we have warrantless surveillance. Of course, we heard that from Edward Snowden, which we'll try and get into that. Modern institutional tracking through banks and financial records and all that. And let's take a look at this next video about the Patriot Act after 9/11 attacks, which I believe was part of an inside job by the elite and high-powered government officials. But that's another topic for another day, probably on the anniversary of 9/11 maybe. But on the surface, it sounded like a good idea, but it wasn't. So let's take a look at that video.
Patriot Act, freedom, with a side of wiretaps. After 9/11, President George W. Bush promised to protect American freedom. Then he signed the USA Patriot Act in 2001. And suddenly, freedom came with terms and conditions. The Patriot Act gave the government massive surveillance powers. We're talking warrantless wiretaps on phone calls, bulk collection of your emails, texts, and internet history, secret sneak and peek searches of homes without telling you. And if you thought, oh, they only spy on terrorists, nope. Turns out, millions of innocent Americans got swept into the dragnet too. Here's the kicker. Most of this was kept secret until Edward Snowden blew the whistle years later. Remember him? The guy who said, hey, the government's reading your emails and tracking your phone calls? Yeah, that guy. Supporters said this was necessary to keep America safe after 9/11. Critics called it unconstitutional and a full-on privacy nightmare. Even the courts eventually admitted the NSA's mass phone data collection wasn't exactly legal, but by then, the surveillance state was already built. And the best part? Once the government takes your privacy, they don't really give it back. So yeah, America stayed free, but your browser history didn't. Big love to my amazing subscribers. You're the reason I keep digging up these buried...
The rest of that video. But in that video, you heard him talk about Edward Snowden, who broke the whole surveillance state wide open. But that didn't stop them. They charged him with espionage and tried to silence him because he was speaking out against what they were doing, which they were denying inadvertently. But they got caught red-handed and they couldn't lie their way out of it. But from the Patriot Act, we got TSA agents to go through our stuff at airports when we're there. But they can't put a stop to bombs and other weapons, which you can see in this next video.
Transportation Security Administration failed 95% of undercover security tests. 95%. Homeland Security investigators smuggled fake bombs and weapons through TSA checkpoints. 95 out of 100 times TSA missed them. This wasn't a one-time test. It's happened repeatedly. In 2015, TSA failed 95%. In 2017, they failed 80%. In 2023, still failing at similar rates. Billions spent, same failures. The TSA's budget for 2024 was $11 billion. $11 billion. To fail 95% of security tests, you take off your shoes, remove your laptop, throw away your water bottle, wait in line for an hour, and the system fails 95% of the time. TSA employs 62,000 screeners, cost $5 billion annually in salaries. They miss weapons, miss explosives, but they will confiscate your shampoo. The agency spent $1.4 billion on body scanners, the machines that see through your clothes. Investigators found the scanners miss certain types of threats, paid $1.4 billion for technology that doesn't work. A Government Accountability Office report found that TSA cannot demonstrate that its screening procedures are effective, cannot prove the system works. After 20 years and hundreds of billions of dollars, no proof of effectiveness. Meanwhile, passengers are treated like criminals. Random searches, invasive pat-downs, belongings dumped out, all for security theater that fails 95% of tests. TSA also runs the PreCheck program. Pay $85 for expedited screening. Trusted traveler program. Except TSA approved PreCheck for people on the terrorist watch list. The vetting failed. The people who paid to skip security included actual security threats. The agency's own data shows that TSA has never stopped a terrorist attack. Not once. In 23 years of operation, 0 prevented attacks, but billions in budget. Israel's airport security is the most effective in the world. They use behavioral detection and intelligence. Costs a fraction of TSA. No security theater, actual security. TSA uses metal detectors and random searches. Fails 95% of tests. Costs $11 billion annually. You fund this every time you fly. The September 11th security fee on every ticket. $9 per flight goes to TSA. To fail security tests and confiscate nail clippers. Comment if TSA has ever confiscated something ridiculous from you.
So
Follow.
we're gonna end that video there. We are running out of time. We did start a little bit late, but I'm gonna mention a couple of other things. We're not gonna go to the next video. We're gonna go a little further down the videos, and I want to talk about. I'm gonna. If you can pull up the Tom McDonald one, if you can find that one, that's the next one I'm gonna. There it is. Okay, but anyways, we heard about. I'll mention when to play that in a moment, but we heard about the loss of freedoms through surveillance, the NSA spying. We got, of course, flock cameras now, but of course, there are other things. Our phones are tracking us, our computers are watching us, our refrigerators, Alexis is spying on us, and we think of it as a normal day. Look at what happened during the whole COVID C virus, because I had to be careful what I say. I mean, people were getting told what to do. We lost our right to be out in public because imaginary virus, which many people still believe to this day, but we got them to admit that it was all a farce. The virus wasn't as bad as they mentioned. Then, of course, there was cancel culture. Back in my day, when I was born in the 70s, we said and did things that would be inappropriate today. And of course, the UK and censorship, I'll leave that link in the description. We're not going to get into that video. But could that be headed our way in the near future, like they were talking about arresting Americans for speech against their elitists, the king and stuff like that? The speech that they didn't like, they were planning on arresting Americans. Why? They have no control in this country, but that's where we're headed, or we could be headed in the near future. It's certainly plausible. Only time will tell. Then there is this from a Canadian-born rapper who lives here in America, Tom McDonald. Let's watch this last video.
It's gonna sound crazy, but hear me out. People are saying flock cameras are to make the country a surveillance state, but I don't think so. Because it's been a surveillance state for over a decade. Your phone is a tracking device, your smart TV knows your name, your fridge and half your other appliances are listening to everything you say, your fingerprint unlocks your iPad, your face unlocks your iPhone, Alexa, Google, Grok, they all know everything about you and your family and your friends. You've been surveilled for years, they already know everything. So what are flock cameras for? I think it's so that they can watch, like some weird Hunger Games reality show while we all turn on each other and society collapses. Just think about it. They force vaccines and turn men into women and woke wash the kids and brainwash with the news and start wars and raise inflation and cause chaos. It's black versus white, it's left versus right, it's straight versus gay, it's and then they put up cameras everywhere so they can watch the hit the fan from their underground bunkers or their private islands with their perverted billionaire buddies. I don't know, I know it sounds crazy, but just think about it. Have a good one. All right, this is gonna sound crazy.
There's a lot to think about there. And the last thing we're going to do before we head out of here is bring up that last website, not that one, the last one, the United Nations one. And I wanted to bring up about the WEF, but Agenda 30 by the United Nations is part of the World Economic Forum's plan. And what is Agenda 30? It's a plan for the people. They're saying it's for prosperity and strength, universal peace, and a larger freedom, but that is not what it is. Let's scroll down here and scroll down. Got people, planet, prosperity, peace, partnership. Let's go to introduction. We, as a head of state, the government and high representatives meeting in the United States headquarters in New York from 25 to 20 September 2015 as the organization celebrates its 17th anniversary. Their goals. It breaks it down what their plan is for 2030. But what their plan is for, we're not going to get more into that. I'll leave a link for that in the description along with the WEF because we're almost out of here. But I want to mention about it because that's where we're headed. They want all the surveillance state. They want the CBDC. They want all this. So when do we fight back and resist? Or is this our fate? People are slowly starting to wake up, but I fear it's a little too late. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this messed up podcast tonight. It was a mess. I apologize. But things do happen. That's what happens when you do live. But anyways, check out talkingthenight.com. And I forgot to pull up my ad that I read every night at the end of the show. But check out talkingthenight.com. Go to more and click on the merch shop. You can find t-shirts, coffee mugs, hats. I'll add more later when I have free time. We're also doing a book giveaway and where you can win a book, one of those 3 books that you see on the screen. And if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, the next 50 people that subscribe between now and the 14th, whether we get 50 or not, I might have to figure out a different way to do this. But up until that date, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you have a chance to win one of those books. But don't worry if you don't win one of the books, because at the end of August, if you see the t-shirt on there, that's a new design that will not be released until September 1st, but you have a chance to win that t-shirt for free. It's a brand new design. It'll be given away on the 28th, I believe it is. And you have a chance to win that before it even gets released. So check out talkofthenight.com. It has links to all the social media sites if you need anything. It's got list of what's coming up, all that good stuff, stories of the day type of stuff. You can hear the past archives, past show, all that on Talk of the Night. So I want to thank everybody for tuning into the show. I apologize once again. And until Wednesday night, when I welcome my guest, Phil Pressler, as we talk about his product or his web-based the UFO dog whistle. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I shall see you on the dark side. Good night from Talk of the Night.